Hey everyone, welcome to episode 31 of the Side by Side Business Podcast. We're your hosts, Larry and Sue Pruett.
And we are really excited about this particular episode. This is something that we've been talking about an awful lot lately, just between us.
Oh, yeah.
And so anytime that we start talking about things, we're like, okay, if we're working through this and trying to figure this out, then this could be a help to our audience as well.
Yeah.
And so in today's episode, we're going to help you to say the word no more frequently.
Yes.
And to say it in a way in which you're not being a jerk, but it's from a position of power, and it's something that is going to help to free you up.
And you can say no guilt-free.
Guilt-free, absolutely.
You do not have to have any guilt in saying no. When we teach you how to do this properly, it's never going to come from a place of frustration or a place of overwhelm. It's going to be, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I shouldn't be doing. And so you know what to say no to. And what that leads to is the opportunity to say yes more often, not more often, with more intention and to the right things, and to say yes confidently and know what you should be moving into.
It's kind of one of those situations where I think we all deal with this, where somebody comes up to us and says, hey, I've got a wonderful plan for your life. And there are all of these good opportunities.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so we end up oftentimes saying yes because something sounds like a good thing to do.
Yeah.
And we say yes. And that leads to getting spread too thin, overwhelming our schedule, overwhelming us, wearing us out, panicking. And then the other thing that we don't often take into consideration when we say yes to the wrong things, might be good things, but they might not be the right things for us to say yes to, is that we could be saying no to the perfect or the right or the best thing that's going to come along next or tomorrow. And then we are so stretched so thin, we can't possibly say yes to it. And so it's that, what's that called? The cost of missed opportunity. I think I'm saying that wrong, but
opportunity cost.
Thank you. Yeah. And so we miss out on the thing that maybe we really should have been doing.
I mean, it's possible you don't even get asked to do that right thing, that perfect thing, because especially if you're always talking about how busy you are and how overwhelmed you are, then somebody's maybe like, well, I was going to ask them about this other opportunity, but now I won't because I don't want to overwhelm them even further.
Exactly. And unfortunately, it's become almost a badge of honor that a lot of us wear. I'm so busy. I don't have time to do anything. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm stretched so thin. I'm doing this and that and this and that, and I don't have any time for myself. It's become this kind of bragging rights thing of we start comparing our lists and like, well, I think I'm busier than you, and we try to one up each other, and it's just silly what we've gotten ourselves into, isn't it?
Yeah, and I absolutely am guilty of all of those things. It's sometimes, even the whole thing of like, again, these really good opportunities, somebody come up to us at church, somebody coming to us that we really admire them and we're honored that they're even asking us to do something. Those are times where maybe we should say yes, but it definitely is, well, one of the things we talk about a lot is shiny object syndrome, right? And so that's where, especially as entrepreneurs, but this could be for just about anybody, but you get started on something and it becomes a little bit tough. It's bogging down just a little bit. And then this new opportunity comes up and it just looks perfect and it looks easy and it looks like this is really what I want. And so we jump over to that.
Right.
And then what happens?
Well, we, again, get bogged down. For some of us, just let's be honest, we get a little bored. It's exciting to start something new, but when you are going for a little while and you get into the place where you realize, oh, this is hard work. It's like, I want to look for something new that looks easier and more fun. And that's another thing that we can get ourselves into by saying yes to the wrong things. maybe good things, but maybe not the thing that we should be saying yes to.
I'm just going to throw out like one quick example is with tools. And I mean like software tools or different programs, or maybe it's a training, something like that.
Yeah.
And we've got, for example, we've got certain tools that we use in our business and that we are learning, and there's a learning curve to all of them.
Yeah.
And we start getting it down, and then somebody says, you're using that tool?
Yeah.
Never heard of it. But here's this other tool. And it becomes this shiny thing, and that has happened to us recently.
Yes.
And we're just like, we don't want the new shiny tool. We like our current tool. So I think we've grown in this area a little bit.
Well, I think part of that, what you're talking about there specifically, is we've learned that oftentimes with a little tweaking, the current tool can become the right tool. And so sometimes it takes just a little tweak. So.
And we've got, and I don't know, we don't need to dig just terribly deep into this, but just for kind of clarity is, the tool we have, it does multiple different things for us at once. So we're not learning 4 different softwares, 4 different things. And so then somebody's just highly recommending to us, somebody we really respect, this separate tool for one of those 4 things. So I'm like, okay, I learned this new tool for that 1/4 of what my other tool can do. And so what do I do with those other 3 things? So it kind of leads down that road. And I think everybody, hopefully you're kind of like nodding along, like, yeah, I get it, because it becomes a real big problem.
And like you said, sometimes you should switch the tool and sometimes you shouldn't. And kind of getting that's probably a little bit even more nitty gritty than what we were necessarily going to talk about. But when we talk about our topic for today, but that kind of thing is influenced by the topic that we're talking about today.
Right. And so back to what I said at the very beginning, you probably need to say no more frequently than what you do. You probably say yes too often, just because we all do.
Of course.
And so, so then that kind of leads to the next thing. Well, how do I say no more frequently? And I think, again, what we would all agree upon is that we need more boundaries in our life. We like to use the baseball analogy. I like to use the baseball analogy.
Everything's a baseball analogy.
That's
baseball can illustrate almost everything.
Absolutely. Amen. Amen. But if you think about a baseball field, just the beautiful grass and the big stadium, think about a professional stadium. The grounds crew works really hard to paint out a perfect line down the first base line and the third base line, and that will separate fair balls from foul balls. And then you've got the big yellow poles that stick up. Excuse me. The big yellow poles that stick up that are called foul poles, but if the ball hits them, they're fair. The ball's fair, so I don't get that. But anyway, and so if you take an over, like a drone view of the stadium, then
like looking straight down,
down at the stadium, you'll see that those foul lines and those foul poles, they set out a parameter of the field, a section of the field that's maybe 1/3 of the stadium. And then
the stadium's usually a perfect circle, pretty much, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm thinking about Busch Stadium in St. Louis, especially the old stadium is just a perfect round circle. But about 1/3 of that stadium is fair territory, and 2/3 of it is foul territory. And so we need boundaries that tell us what's a fair ball and what's a foul ball. And as we're talking about this here, I don't know, there's not necessarily a ratio that 2/3 of the time you need to say no or anything like that. But most of the time, it's a foul ball. Most of the time, you need to say no, is what we are proposing here. So we need boundaries in our lives. And that's, again, where just in our experience, and I know that there's people who provide solutions and such, but most of the time, it's like everybody kind of says, yep, we need boundaries. And then we kind of pat each other on the back and we walk out of the room and everybody says, good luck on you to figure out how to set up those boundaries. But we've taken this a little bit further.
We absolutely have. And so what we have come up with is, and this is something that we actually started a long time ago. Well, we've been married for 35 years. Everybody knows that. So it's been over 20
I'd
maybe
say
even
probably
25
years
years
ago. Yeah.
that we started with a family mission statement. And what that did was that gave us our boundaries. It set our foul pole, it set our foul lines for us. And we then began to filter every opportunity that came along through that filter of fair territory and foul territory. And so I guess we should talk a little bit about how we came up with that. What is the process for doing that?
Right, absolutely. And this is something that literally that we would recommend that you sit down and do this. To start with, though, we want to just make like set one major rule for you, and that is do not overthink this.
Yeah.
I again, we've taken courses or trainings, I guess I should say, and such, and we have had like these massive weekend trips where we've done a lot of different things, and then we come away, we're like, well, we didn't get all the way done. And so we actually recommend that you take 1 hour to go through this entire process, because sometimes whenever you overthink it, it just comes out, 1% better than what
or
you
it
could have
gets too
done.
complicated.
It just gets too
This
complicated.
is not supposed to be a complicated thing for you,
right?
At all.
I think the bigger thing of, I guess what I was trying to say is you'll end up, just getting tired of it, or you can't get it completed, and then you walk away with nothing. And so what we're saying is, let's see, what's the saying is done is better than
perfect.
Done is better than perfect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So we want you to get this done. So just spend about an hour on this, and we're going to walk through kind of quickly here, but our 5-step process to help you to create this family mission statement. And then we'll talk more about actually how you use that family mission statement to set those boundaries. So step number 1 is to ask some kind of deep questions.
Well, yeah, they're pointed questions.
They're pointed questions. They're going to make you think a little bit. Step 1 is probably going to be the step that's going to take the longest in this entire process. But we're going to walk through these 3 questions with you, so you can, well, if you're driving while you're listening to this, just come back later and and write down some notes and go through this. But so the first question is to cause you to pause and think about some mentors in your life. And this could be just somebody that you really admire personally. It could be somebody professionally, somebody who has accomplished great success in their life. And I do want to kind of pause here as we're going through this and say, there's a lot of different ways to define success.
Yes, that's a good point. The kind of success that you want to have.
Absolutely, yes. So somebody who is maybe somebody who's made a lot of money. Maybe that's really important to you. You want to make a lot of money. And so you see this person has made a lot of money, but they've done it in a way that is honorable. All right. Maybe it's somebody like, as an example, I really admire my dad. My dad didn't go to college. He never started a business. He, he's never been on a podcast, although we're going to try to get, I shouldn't announce that, but we're going to try to get my parents. Trying to get my parents on a podcast at some point. But so by the kind of the world's definition of success, he may not be at the top of people's list, but he's at the top of my list of somebody that I greatly admire, and my mom too, by the way. And so once you think about that person, then start writing down some of the characteristics that they have that you would like to emulate. So like my dad, he's very consistent. He's been very fair. He's a godly man. Or I could probably go on and come up with some others, but you get the idea. And so just kind of let it flow and just take, this part, you probably just want to take a few minutes. And so think of even like say 3 or 4 people that you really admire and just start writing those characteristics down.
Yeah. And then once you've done that, now I want you to turn and think a little bit about yourself. If you could narrow it down to one thing, what's the one thing that you would like to be known for or remembered for once your life is over? And that is probably going to bring out what your deepest values are to you. And so you want to think about just, again, it might be something that you'd like to emulate in somebody that you admire. And you think, I want to be known for the same type of thing. or one aspect of what that person is like. But just ask yourself, what is it that I'm hoping people will say about me when I'm not around? Mm. And that can guide some of this as well.
Yeah, that's a very kind of reflective type of a question, and even thinking into the future, like with however many years the Lord gives you going forward, and what do you want to accomplish. So yeah, just let that flow. Just write down some of those responses, and then the third question in this step would be, there's so much that we do in our lives that is driven by the fact that we need to eat the next meal, and we got to make enough money to pay the bills and such. So let's take that off of the plate for you. And let's just say you've got $1 million in the bank or $10 million in the bank. And so you don't need to work another day of your life. You could do anything that you want to do professionally. You can do anything that you want to do personally. What kind of things would you do? And again, this could be a list of 5 things, 10 things, could be kind of like a bucket list, if you want to think of it that way. But this question gets down to the heart of who you are. And if you had some of those basic things taken care of, and you didn't have to go to that job, or you didn't even have to run the current business that you're running, what would you do?
I think another important thing is, like the way you talk about there is a bucket list, is what are the things that you want to do, kind of to satisfy yourself in a way, that type of thing. But I also think, what's the thing that would drive you? What way would you, what thing would you want to busy yourself with that would perhaps affect others? Like if you could affect people in a certain way, what would you want to do there? And you can choose any way you want, because you don't have to find just the thing that is going to put food on your table. You've already got that covered. So what's something that you would do if you didn't have to worry about putting food on the table? And then for those of you who are married, I know a lot of our listeners are married. I think it'd be a really good idea to then have your spouse, sit down with your spouse and ask these same questions and write down their answers. What are the things that or you can sit down, write them down on your own, and just walk through those same questions with your spouse, or let them walk through those questions on their own and write down their own answers to that.
So that's step 2, by the way.
Oh yeah, sorry, that was step 2. Sorry.
And I like to say this to people also, because for you guys that are listening, if you initiate this, you're going to win some major brownie points with your wife.
Absolutely.
If you've done step 1, and then you say, honey, I would love to sit down and to talk to you for, say, 15 minutes here or something like that. And I'm going to ask you some questions, and I just want to hear your responses to these, and I'm going to write down your answers. Now, she may pass out. She may be like, what do you want? But no, this is going to, I think this leans in well to a husband who's leading his home well, and setting a vision and a mission statement for the family. And so step 2 then is to get your spouse involved in this process. All right. So step 3 then is to look over the list of all of those answers that you've written down. And again, we're saying just do this really quickly. So it may be pretty scattered. You may see like, whoa, there's stuff all over the place. That's okay. But you're going to start looking for some commonalities there, some common phrases, some common words, some common themes behind all of these type of things. And just make note of that, maybe highlight that or circle it or something, those words or phrases. Or maybe you can say, these answers here kind of lead me to thinking, like this, so it puts a new phrase together.
Right. Yeah. And not only your own list, but look at your spouse's list and look definitely for what did you both come up with? What do you have in common between the 2 lists? Because that's probably something that the Lord has laid on your hearts on purpose, because He's put you together because He wants you to do those things and accomplish them. And so step 4 is to take those common phrases, common themes that you have seen come out of your answers, and write down maybe 3 or 4 sentences. It does not have to be complicated. Right. It doesn't have to be flowery. It doesn't have to be said in Old English. Write it down the way that you speak it, but write 3 or 4 sentences that kind of summarize the main ideas that you came up with in those answers from step one. And that becomes your family mission statement. And again, don't stress about this too much. You're not carving it in stone.
Right.
This isn't necessarily the final way that you're going to have it. In fact, we have revised ours several times over the years. As you move through different life phases and different seasons in life, you're going to have different things that are important to you. And so ours has morphed. And so just write that down. And what you've done is you've written down a filter for your activities as a family, and you've set your foul poles.
Yes. And so then the last step then is to make it a little bit more official. All right. So so put it into a Word doc or something like that and literally print that out so you have it on a piece of paper. It's, if it's just kind of conceptual or a chicken scratch on a paper or something, then it's not as powerful as that filter that we need to have. And so, and again, if you want to, you could run it through an AI tool and to say, clean this up a little bit or to do some alliteration with it. You could do that if you want to, but we really don't even recommend that at the beginning here.
I think it's so much more powerful when it's in your own words.
Yeah, agreed. Mm-hmm. And so once you have this in writing and this thing printed out, we actually even recommend that you buy just a cheap little frame, and put it in that frame and hang it on the wall. But if you have children at home, we really encourage you to talk to your children about this. This is something that we did over the years, and especially when it was fresh, when it was new, we did that. And that led to some really kind of cool things.
It really did. Do you want to tell the story about the family chat?
Yes, yeah, sure. One of the things, as we had opportunities that came up over the years, and especially if the kids brought something to us that we were just like, this is way out of bounds. This is a foul ball, no problem. And we would just say like, no, we're not going to do that, especially if it was the kids weren't really bringing us a bunch of morally objectionable things, but as we
just outside of our boundaries,
just outside of boundaries. But we would just say like, no, we're not going to do that because we are Pruetts. And there may have been some conversations that we had as the kids got older where we were, they were trying to find out like, where are the moral boundaries on certain things? And that was definitely times when we'd say we are Pruetts and we don't do things like that.
Well, and sometimes it was, we are Pruetts and we do this.
Absolutely.
It was like, we say yes to these kinds of things because we're Pruetts. That's what our family does,
So it could have been that we have to say no to this other thing because we've already committed to this yes over here.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, as the kids got older and some of them were moving out of the house, we started, one of the kids started a family chat group. Mm-hmm. And whenever they went to name that, they named it, We Are Pruetts. Yeah. And that was just like really, it actually took me a minute. They're like, why'd you come up with that name? And I was like, oh, that's because we said that to the kids all the time. And it actually resonated and stuck in to their brains, to all the kids' brains. Mm-hmm. And so that was encouraging. And that came out of what we're talking about here today, is developing this family mission statement.
Absolutely. So you have your family mission statement, you have it written down, you have it printed, or you hand wrote it, however, get it in a frame, get it on the wall. You've got that up. And so this has set your boundaries. This has set your filter that you're going to filter all new opportunities through. Okay. And so when a new opportunity comes across your path, you're going to ask yourself some questions about it. And this is the filter that you're going to use. And so the first question you're going to ask yourself is, will this new opportunity help me become, or my family become, the type of people that we want to be? Or does it pull us further away from the type of people that we want to be?
Yeah. So then another really good question that you can ask for, when you have these opportunities is, will this help me to accomplish the things that are really important to me? Again, we want to accomplish certain things. I think that I know that we are all put on earth to accomplish certain things. And if we are just busy doing stuff that anybody could do, then we're going to miss out on those opportunities. So that's another really good filter to ask.
Absolutely. And the third one is to ask yourself, will it pull us toward our dream lifestyle and or career that we have in mind for ourselves or for our family?
So and this is right on brand for us, because that's what we say all the time. And whenever we finish this podcast, we'll say that again, but we help married entrepreneurs build the business of their dreams. Yeah. And so that's, once you get that in writing, once you get this summarized, like who you are and who you want to become and how you want your family to do things and what you want your career, your business to be like, it is just a powerful thing. It's actually an emotional thing.
It really is. Yeah. When you get that clarity, it's really incredible. And so after you've asked yourself these 3 questions, then you evaluate your answer. If the answer to all 3 questions was yes, then this is a good opportunity for you to say yes to it. This is something you probably should consider saying yes to. If the answer to any of those 3 questions was no, or it's going to pull us further away, or it's not the right thing to help us build that business or that dream that we're looking for, that dream life that we're looking for, then your answer has to be either no or not right now. So one of those 2 things. And so it doesn't mean never necessarily, because like we said, we have revised ours at different times. And so different opportunities that weren't good for us 10, 15 years ago are good for us now.
Right. There are seasons of life. There are phases that we go through. We are, as we've said before, we are staring empty nesting right in the face as our youngest is talking about possibly moving out later this year. And he's the last kid that's at home. And so that's a totally different season and a different phase for us. And so it does open up opportunities that in the past we always had to say no to. Right. And now we're like, oh, we actually can do that. So this family mission statement, then again, doing this in a pretty straightforward, simple way is extremely powerful. And it becomes that filter so that you can say no to good things and free up your time to say yes to the right things. So I think this is a good place for us to stop. We may come back and actually share our family mission statement. That may be helpful on a future podcast episode, and even give some more specific examples of how we use it as a filter. But I think for right now, what we'd encourage you to do is to grab a piece of paper and a pen and sit down and start going through this. And you could literally do this evening and come away with your own family mission statement.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that you all do it, because I bet when we said at the beginning, everybody needs better boundaries. Everybody needs to say no more often. I'm sure you were in agreement with us that yes, we need to do that. This is a tool to help you do that more confidently, and then to move forward confidently when you say yes and know that you're saying yes to the right thing. So we hope that you'll take what you learned today and go build your business.
Your dream business.
Oh, take 2. Rebecca will fix it in post, right?
Probably not.
So we want you to take what you've learned today and go build your dream business.
Side by side. Take care, everybody.
See ya.